Hello, my name is Officer Tony Woods. Today's video is part 3 of how to set up the Epiphone Les Paul. In today's episode, Ricky is gonna stretch the strings and do the action and the intonation. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm glad it's Friday today. Ah, what a week. Well, without any further ado or unnecessary comedy, on with the show.
Hello, Richard from budgetguitarist.com, and today is part 3 of our series on how to set up an Epiphone Les Paul. Previously, we took the strings off, we cleaned the fretboard, we polished the frets, we cleaned the body, we straightened the neck, we put new strings on, and now today we're going to stretch the strings, we're going to tune it up, we're going to adjust the action, and we're going to adjust the intonation. Let's get started. Step 1, a tuner. This is the, let me hold this up here. This is the Super Snark tuner. These are, I want to say, around 15 bucks. You can get them just about anywhere. In episode 1, I did like a list of tools, and this was included in it. So there's an Amazon affiliated link for this way back in episode 1. So we're just going to clip this bad boy up here. And the very first thing I'm going to do is tune this guy up. Even though I haven't stretched the strings yet, I just want to tune it up. Rough tune. It doesn't have to be perfect. Can you read that? Yeah, you can. Again, we're rough tuning here. The infamous Les Paul G string, the one that comes across the nut at a funky angle. Okay, now we stretch. So what does it mean to stretch the string? Well, the string's got a pretty solid connection down here at the stop tail piece, but up around the post up here, there's probably some slack. And so when you're stretching the string, one of the big reasons to do that is basically to tighten up the slack down here. I stretch strings kind of carefully, especially when I have light gauge strings like these. So what I like to do is I'll put one hand down here kind of loosely to make sure I'm not pulling the string out of the nut slot. And then I'll just kind of gently pull up at each fret marker. Now the reason to do it at each fret marker is because I feel like it. You don't have to. And you could go like this, but that's not pleasant. That's not fun. So I'm just going to kind of stretch it out a couple of times. So now it'll be way out of tune. Bring it back up to pitch. Okay, stretch it again. So I'm being really careful with the high E string. Okay, now that we're fully in tune, it's time to look at the action. Let me put on my my glasses so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Okay, actually, you know what? Before we get to string action, let's check the straightness of the neck. So I'm going to put my capo on the first fret. Not on the first fret, but actually on the fretboard just before the first fret, like that. Straighten it out a little bit. Okay. And then while I'm holding the guitar in the playing position, meaning as if I'm going to play it, I'm going to press down on the highest fret on the fretboard. Now, a lot of people have different opinions about this. Some people will tell you should press down on the fret where the neck meets the body. So those are kind of two different ways of doing it. Whichever way you personally decide to do it. You're going to check the action at the 8th fret, and you're going to do it with a feeler gauge. And again, this stuff is also personal. I mean, the figures that I'm using, I got from StewMac, you know. It doesn't mean that there aren't different ways to do it. Everybody's got their own deal. I like capo on the first fret, hold down the highest fret, and you get a 10,000ths feeler gauge, and you put it between the 8th fret and the string. And the idea with a feeler gauge is, again, that you can just feel both sides of it, right? So if I feel the fret, but I don't feel the string, then the gap is too big, and I'm going to need to tighten the truss rod. Again, if I exaggerate it, a neck might go like this, and if you straighten the truss rod, you can bend that back into being straight. But you don't want a perfectly straight neck, usually, unless you're Jeff Beck. What you want is a relief of about 10,000ths of an inch. So here we go. I always have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let me stick this guy down in there. I can just barely feel that string. Maybe. I'm actually going to tighten it up just a teeny bit here. So to tighten the neck, what you're going to do, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So I want to go this way, so I'm going to take this string here. I'm going to take my my D string and detune it, get it out of the way. And now I got room to tighten this guy. And I'm going to go about a quarter turn is what I ended up doing. So then back up with the D string. So now back on with the capo. Let's check it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm showing off again. Yep, that's what I want. So now my neck is straight. I almost forgot that step. Now we're going to talk about the tools. All right, so the tools. Got string gauge, string action ruler, which is really good. And then I got this thing here, which has got 64ths of an inch, which is fine. Now that I know my neck is as straight as it needs to be, let's start out with the 64th dealio here. So at the 12th fret, which is going to be this one right here, I'm actually going to get down. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to get down here. So get down here. And this is why you need the cheaters or the glasses, because these lines are really hard to see. And I am looking for 6 64ths, and it's maybe a teeny bit higher than that. It's a little hard to see. I'm going to switch over to my other tool, string action ruler. And if I hold this up, you can kind of see. Well, I can't see because. All right. So you see how on each side here it's got like a series of dark rectangles? The idea is that you put this next to the string, and then when you get down and you look, it's an easier way to see exactly how high the string is. Okay, so here's a close-up of the string action ruler hard at work. Here's the 12th fret on this guitar, right here. I'm going to put my string action ruler here. And as I slide it, again, this is the fret right here, 12th fret. You can see at 40, it's not touching the string yet. 50, not touching the string. 60, the top of it, the top of the box is just barely touching the string. So what I would say is that this string is a teeny bit higher than 60. It could actually come down a teeny bit, because I would want the top of that box to line up perfectly with the string. So this would be just a teeny bit high. But you can see as I go further down, right? See how this works? It's really cool. Now, if I wanted to go old school and go like 64ths of an inch, there is a way to do that, but you can see how it's like kind of tough. Let me try to get a little more light over here. Now that helps a little bit. See, it's harder to see the lines. And so that's why this is such a cool way to do it. So that's how it works. String action ruler. It's cool, right? So depending on how you want to set your action, maybe 5 or 6 64ths, 4 or 5 64ths over here, depending on how high or how low you want to set your action, you can get down here at eyeball level and you can hold this up to the string and you can actually see where you're at. So on this Baroque string action ruler, it's actually got a little cheat sheet on the back. And what I want to do is I want to go for about 0.06 inches at the 12th fret on the high E string, and I want to go for about 0.08 inches on the low E. So this is like 2 different ways of measuring, right? One is to do it within like 64ths of an inch. The other way to do it is in thousandths of an inch. You can also do it in metric. So that would be like 1.5 millimeters on the high E string, and on the low E string, more like 2 millimeters. And so that would be the bottom row here. Probably can't see it too well, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with thousandths of an inch, and I'm looking for 0.70. No, I'm looking for 0.60 and 0.80. All right, so starting with the high E string, 0.60. Okay, this is actually spot on. It's perfect, probably because this guitar had previously been set up. But I'm going to show you basically what I would do if it weren't spot on. On your Epiphone Les Paul, you've got this bridge here, and you can move the individual saddles back and forth to do the intonation, which is what we're going to do next. But in order to adjust the action, you have to raise or lower the whole thing. And you can't raise or lower individual saddles, so you have to do it like this side or that side, which means when you raise this side, it's going to raise this one quite a bit, and this one barely, but a little bit, if that makes sense. So it's just kind of a balancing act. And let's just say that I want to lower the action just a teeny bit. Okay, if I'm going to raise the action here, technically what I ought to do is detune the entire guitar, and then raise it, and then retune the guitar. And the reason for that is these strings are under high tension. So if you're raising this bridge, you're putting more tension on that string. There is a chance that the string could break or wear down quickly. More quickly, I should say. But if you're lowering the action, my opinion is you're easing off the tension a little bit. So I don't really feel the need to detune. So I'm going to take it down just a little bit. So to take this down, I'm going to tighten this screw, which is going to make it go further into the body. This is going to go down, and yeah. Let's just do just a teeny little bit. That wasn't even a quarter turn. So now I'm going to come back down here again. I'm going to check where I'm at. That looks good. Okay. So over here, I want to do just under 80. Okay. And I'm going to say that's a little high. So I want to take this one down a little bit also. So just tighten it up a teeny bit. That's about like not even an eighth of a turn. And what you want to do is just keep going back and forth until it's where it needs to be. Okay, so now my action is good. I like it. Okay, so now we're going to adjust the intonation. And to adjust the intonation, I'm going to get our handy dandy tuner, turn it on. Let's start with a low E string. I can take these off now. By the way, since I lowered the bridge, all of my strings are going to be lower. The whole guitar is going to be out of tune. Might as well rough tune it quick. So intonation. First I got to get my E tune. And I'm going to hit the the octave, I'm not pressing down, I'm hitting the harmonic. So I'm just touching the string at the 12th fret right here and just hitting the string. You know, it occurs to me you can't hear any of this. Let me plug in. This won't be direct guitar signal, but you'll at least be able to hear it. So harmonic. Tune the harmonic. Pretty good. Now I'm going to play the 12th fret. Okay, see how it's sharp? I don't know, can you see that? It is slightly out of tune, it is slightly sharp. So, sharp means the string needs to get longer, right? Because the longer the string, the lower the pitch. So if it's sharp, I need to basically make the length of this string longer. From here to here. And the way to do that is to take this saddle and move it back. So let's bring it back to the bench. If I can get this closer to the camera, you're about to see what the problem is. This is the saddle that we need to move back. We need to move this saddle more this way. See what the problem is? It's already as far back as it can go. Can't go any further back, right? So what do? Well, you see how this saddle is wedge shaped. So what I'm going to do is, right now it's wedge shaped where the flat side is facing the nut. If I take this out and spin it around, I'm going to gain some space there because that flat side is going to be closer to the tailpiece, and that should gain me enough, just enough. So I'm going to totally detune this string. Okay, so I can take it out. Oh, I got to pull this dumb wire out. Good times. And I can't see worth a damn. When you get to be 55 like me, oh. But it beats the alternative. Okay, so I removed the wire. I'm going to take this guy here and pop it out. Come on out. There we go. There it is. Okay. See this guy? So what we're going to do is just flip that saddle right round the other way. You spin me right round, baby, right round like a saddle, babe. Okay, so put the wire back in. Yeah, and now tighten this screw up, turning it counterclockwise to move the saddle all the way back. All the way back. So while I'm in here, you know, I want to look at the other saddles too. You know, this is rough tuned. See this guy right here? He appears to have plenty of space behind him. So I don't think I'm going to have to do this on any of the other saddles, but we'll find out. Okay. Harmonic, note. Perfect. It's not really rocket surgery, right? I mean, the longer a string is, the lower the note's going to be. So if the distance from here to here is too sharp, you want to increase the distance of the string. Now, what would I have done if this was still off? If I move this as far back here as possible and this guy was still not in tune, it was still sharp and there was no place else to move it. Well, they actually make bridges that you can buy that have even more room. And so I would look into replacing this bridge with something that gave me even more space to go back towards the stop tailpiece. So you can do that. So if you're put in that position, don't panic. Just go on to like Stu Mac or someplace like that and find yourself one of these Les Paul bridges that is more adjustable. But when you buy, don't just buy something that says Les Paul, because Gibson Les Pauls and Epiphone Les Pauls, not all the parts are just instantly transferable. You know, with Fender, for the most part, American and made in Mexico, a lot of the parts you can use back and forth. With the Gibson Les Paul, pickups you can, and the rest you really gotta do your due diligence. Okay. Let's do the next string. That's good. So my D string is a little flat, which means I have to do the opposite. The note is flat, so that means it's too low in pitch, so I want to make it higher in pitch, so I want to decrease this distance, so I want to take this saddle and move it this way some. So I'm just going to loosen this string up so there's no real tension on it. Let's bring it back to the bench. Okay. So clockwise. How much do you do? As much as you think it needs. Excellent. Let's move on. Well, make sure you can see. Sharp. Okay, so what do? Tune the string down. Sharp means I want to increase the distance. So to increase the distance, back this way. Turn this screw counterclockwise to get it to move back towards the bridge some more. Back towards the stop tailpiece some more, I should say. That's pretty good. Let's try that. Excellent. Sharp. I'm sensing a theme. And again, I'm detuning the strings when I'm moving the saddles because there's a lot of pressure on the string where it meets the saddle, and I don't want to do that. Probably also dent the saddle a little bit if you're doing this with high pressure on it. I don't know, maybe I can email Dan Earlywine and ask him. Which way am I going? Counterclockwise. There. That looks about right. Perfect. We're done. Cool. So we are essentially done. And I feel pretty good about the way this guitar is set up. The one thing I kind of didn't really go through is how high or how low to set your action, like how high or how low you can get away with. On Epiphone Les Pauls, to me, it often comes down to the low E string. Like I'm playing this right now. Let me turn the volume down. See how you don't hear any rattling on the fret? If you have your action too low on an Epiphone Les Paul, you're going to hear a lot of fret rattle, especially on the low E string. And I like low action, but I don't like a lot of noise. There's sort of a misconception about guitars, and that is that, with a really good guitar, you can have the action practically touching the frets and nothing will ever buzz. You will find that on really expensive and really well-made guitars, you can get away with a lower action because the tolerances are within 1/1000th of an inch. So the cheaper the instrument, the less the tolerances are. And 1/1000th of an inch, when it comes to fretwork, really does matter. And so you can have lower action on a good guitar. But I've also seen some $200 guitars that had really low action and play great. Your instrument is going to be the determining factor. You can mess around with the truss rod if there's a lot of buzz. Sometimes you can loosen the truss rod a little bit and it'll get rid of a little bit of buzz. Because basically, especially with a low string, in any kind of string, when it vibrates, and this is basically just physics, that string is going to move the most in the very middle of the string. And so that's part of the reason that a little bit of relief can really help. But if you have too much relief, it'll really affect the feel of how the guitar plays. That's why I like to go by benchmarks. That's why I like to, put my capo on the first fret, hold down on the last fret, and try to get 10,000ths clearance at the 8th fret. And if I always do that, then everything I'm setting up is consistent. And again, some people might say 8,000ths or 12,000ths and hold it down here, hold it down there, whatever the case may be. Whatever you decide on, if you're consistent, then you can get consistent results. If you have a ruler, where's the one that I was using? There it is. If you have a ruler like this that has 64ths of an inch, you can definitely use that and it'll work out fine. But I would strongly recommend that you get a string action ruler, especially the Baroque. And again, I've got this linked. You know what? I'll go ahead and put the link again in the description for this video, the Amazon affiliated link, because it's fairly inexpensive for how good it is and what it does. I would strongly encourage you to pick one of these guys up. And of course, the other thing I would strongly encourage is the Super Snark, and I will also put an affiliated link in the description for that. Well, at this point in time, I think I'm done working on guitars, at least on the channel for a while. So next week, we'll get back to something a little bit more traditional. This has been a 3-part series. This was part 3, and we are finally done with it. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and clicking the like button. You can click the bell to find out when we got a new video coming out. But honestly, you don't really need to do that because we always release new videos Friday at 5.